Hello and welcome back to a chapter a day. It is April 16th and I will be reading Leviticus 15. Again, we are still reading about the instructions God gave to Moses concerning many ways in which the children of Israel were to stay healthy and be cleansed from certain illnesses, and the offerings they were supposed to bring at the end for their cleansing. So we were talking about lepers and how they were supposed to be seen by the priest and given the seal of cleanliness, and the offerings they were supposed to bring after. And here we go with chapter 15. And the Lord spake unto Moses and to Aaron, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them, When any man hath a running issue out of his flesh because of his issue, he is unclean. And this shall be his uncleanness in his issue, whether his flesh run with his issue, or his flesh be stopped from his issue, it is his uncleanness. Every bed whereon he lieth that hath the issue is unclean, and everything whereon he sitteth, it shall be unclean. Whosoever toucheth his bed shall wash his clothes and bathe himself in water, and be unclean until the even. I would say this. Public places are some of the dirtiest places that you can ever go. You don't know who has what. You go to a place, it doesn't matter how clean the place looks. Someone was there before, they sat down, and you go and you sit down. That's why a lot of times when we would go out, my mother would say, put those clothes in the wash, because you touched, you brushed against, you sat down upon places that you don't know who was there before you. So it is always a good practice when we go out. I know sometimes we don't want to throw our clothes in the wash because we say it was only a short time, or I didn't really do anything that was very active in it. But just to be sure, always put your clothing in the wash. Okay. And that is just for a man who has some running issue, whatever it is, men may get whatever illnesses that would cause a running issue, that he was supposed to clean his clothes. Anyone who touched him or wherever he sat or lay was supposed to wash themselves as well. Verse 6, And he that sitteth on anything whereon he sat that hath the issue shall wash his clothes and bathe himself in water, and be unclean until the even. And he that toucheth the flesh of him that hath the issue shall wash his clothes and bathe himself in water, and be unclean until the even. And if he that hath the issue spit upon him that is clean, then he shall wash his clothes and bathe himself in water, and be unclean until the even. And what saddle soever he rideth upon that hath the issue shall be unclean. And whosoever toucheth anything that was under him shall be unclean until the even. And he that beareth any of those things shall wash his clothes and bathe himself in water, and be unclean until the even. So again, this is for men, or maybe women too, who have some sort of issue of running stuff from their bodies, that they were to be unclean. Anyone touching them or sitting or wherever they sat or laying where they lay would be unclean. They had to wash themselves and their clothes and be unclean until the evening. Verse 11, And whomsoever he toucheth that hath the issue, and hath not rinsed his hands in water, he shall wash his clothes and bathe himself in water, and be unclean until the even. And the vessel of earth that he toucheth, which hath the issue, shall be broken, and every vessel of wood shall be rinsed in water. And when he that hath an issue is cleansed of his issue, then he shall number to himself 7 days for his cleansing, and wash his clothes, and bathe his flesh in running water, and shall be clean. And on the 8th day he shall take to him 2 turtle doves or 2 young pigeons, and come before the Lord unto the door of the tabernacle of the congregation, and give them unto the priest. And the priest shall offer them, the one for a sin offering, and the other for a burnt offering. And the priest shall make an atonement for him before the Lord for his issue. So again, instructions: if someone has some sort of illness that is causing an oozing from the body, that person is unclean straight off. Anything they touch is unclean. That thing or person needs to clean themselves or their clothing, and any vessel that was touched by that person is unclean. Any place that they sat would be unclean. And I know sometimes we say, oh, don't scorn people. You know what? If you want to get sick, then don't do what you are told to do. But sometimes you have to be very careful. Like I said, especially you go to doctor's offices, you sit on those seats, you don't know who was there before. And you go home and take those clothes and put them in your closet. Not a good thing. Verse 16, and if any man's seed of copulation go out from him, then he shall wash all his flesh in water and be unclean until the even. And every garment and every skin whereon is the seed of copulation shall be washed with water and be unclean until the even. The woman also with whom man shall lie with seed of copulation, they shall both bathe themselves in water and be unclean until the even. And if a woman have an issue and her issue in her flesh be blood, she shall be put apart 7 days, and whosoever toucheth her shall be unclean until the even. And everything that she lieth upon in her separation shall be unclean. Everything also that she sitteth upon shall be unclean. So these verses were for men who had sexual relations. Whatever it is, got onto whatever garments or other linens. They were supposed to wash themselves and wash the linens. And the woman likewise was supposed to bathe, both of them, and know they would be unclean until the evening. Now for women who has issues of blood, we know what happens to women every month. That woman is unclean. I remember when we first started to attend church of a certain denomination, my mother would not allow us to go to church during that time of the month. She considered us unclean. We were not supposed to go to church and sit on the seats where other people were supposed to sit. Now that has been done away with. I believe some people maybe still don't go out in public too much during that time of the month, but it's not like, written in stone that we have to do that anymore. Verse 21, and whosoever toucheth her bed shall wash his clothes and bathe himself in water and be unclean until the even. And whosoever toucheth anything that she sat upon shall wash his clothes and bathe himself in water and be unclean until the even. And if it be on her bed or on anything whereon she sitteth, when he toucheth it, he shall be unclean until the even. And if a man lie with her at all, and her flowers be upon him, he shall be unclean 7 days, and all the bed whereon he lieth shall be unclean. And if a woman have an issue of her blood many days out of the time of her separation, or if it run beyond the time of her separation, all the days of the issue of her uncleanness shall be as the days of her separation. She shall be unclean. Now, I was told that a man is not supposed to touch a woman during that time of the month because she really is not supposed to be in that situation because of what's happening. I know some people don't observe that, but here it's saying if men do touch a woman during that time, he is unclean. 7 days. He needs to wash himself, and she too. Both of them shall be unclean for 7 days. And if it is that she has an issue of blood according to biblical terms, if it goes beyond the regular time and it keeps going, she will remain unclean until it stops. And every woman knows what I'm talking about. Verse 26, every bed whereon she lieth, all the days of her issue shall be unto her as the bed of her separation. And whatsoever she sitteth upon shall be unclean, as the uncleanness of her separation. And whosoever toucheth those things shall be unclean, and shall wash his clothes, and bathe himself in water, and be unclean until the even. But if she be cleansed of her issue, then she shall number to herself 7 days, and after that she shall be clean. And on the 8th day she shall take unto her 2 turtle doves, or turtles, or young pigeons, and bring them unto the priest to the door of the tabernacle of the congregation. So just like the woman who had the issue of blood for 18 or how many years, and then Jesus was this is in the New Testament, which we will read sometime. We understand why she felt like she was not supposed to be around anybody at all, because she was just having that issue for years. That is just terrible, just going on. And I know I've heard of people who have that problem, but she was considered unclean for all that time. So she was not even supposed to go out into public, but she chanced it because she heard that there was somebody. She had spent all her money on doctors, and I'm talking about in the New Testament. There is this story or account given of this woman with the issue of blood, that she didn't even want to confront Jesus. So she saw him passing, and as he passed, she went through the crowd and touched just the hem of his garment. But because of the faith within her, that issue of blood stopped right away. And Jesus knew something happened from him. Virtue passed from him to her. And that's why he asked her, "Who touched me?" But we'll read about that later on. I just wanted to make a correlation between what I just read here about a woman being unclean and what happened there in the New Testament. So, verse 30. And the priest shall offer the one for a sin offering and the other for a burnt offering. And the priest shall make an atonement for her before the Lord for the issue of her uncleanness. Thus shall you separate the children of Israel from their uncleanness, that they die not in their uncleanness when they defile my tabernacle that is among them. This is the law of him that hath an issue, and of him whose seed goeth from him and is defiled therewith, and of her that is sick of her flowers, or having her menstrual cycle, and of him that hath an issue, of the man and of the woman, and of him that lieth with her, that is unclean. Again, God did not leave anything to the children of Israel to guess. He told Moses of every single aspect of their life, of situations that will arise in their life, and how to deal with it. I think that is just amazing. And I think today it's the same thing. I know women cannot stay home today when they're at that time of month because, well, we are more equipped, I guess, maybe to go out. I'm sure they were equipped back then too, but we just have to go because we have things to do. We are working outside of the homes, etc. But truthfully, I think that really is a time of separation. That's what they called it. And you were separated as an unclean person. Okay, so thank you all once again for listening and for viewing. I pray you all have a blessed day. Remember, faith comes by hearing God's word. So until our next reading, take care. Bye.